भारतीय संस्कृति, कला एवं परंपरा से संबंधित विभिन्न विषयों पर देश के सर्वोत्कृष्ट विद्वानों के व्याख्यान मध्य प्रदेश भोज मुक्त विश्वविद्यालय के द्वारा वीडियो के रूप में तैयार किए जा रहे हैं। हमारे लिए यह अत्यंत हर्ष और गर्व का विषय है कि मध्य प्रदेश के महामहिम राज्यपाल एवं कुलाधिपति महोदय डॉक्टर भाई महावीर के प्रारंभिक संदेश के साथ यह श्रृंखला प्रारंभ होने जा रही है।
मित्रों, किसी राष्ट्र के जीवंत परिचय के लिए उसकी परंपरा में निहित और विकसित कला व संस्कृति का ज्ञान आवश्यक होता है। भारतीय परंपरा में जो कलाएं विकसित हुईं और साहित्य तथा संस्कृति में पुष्पित रूप में दिखाई दी, उनकी महत्ता एवं समृद्धि विश्व के अध्येताओं से छिपी नहीं रही है। यह चिंता का विषय है कि हमारी कला, संस्कृति और परंपराओं की आधारभूत जानकारियों से भी हमारे ही विद्यार्थी भली प्रकार से परिचित नहीं हो पाते। महाविद्यालयों में अध्ययनरत विद्यार्थियों के लिए आधार पाठ्यक्रम के माध्यम से इस कमी को पूरा करने का विचार अवश्य बना था, परंतु गिने चुने पाठ्यक्रमों के छुटपुट प्रयासों से इन विषयों के साथ न्याय कर पाना संभव नहीं है। हमारे देश के मनीषियों ने समय समय पर भारतीय संस्कृति, परंपरा और कला आदि महत्वपूर्ण विषयों पर अपने विचार व्यक्त किए हैं, परंतु अगर ये विचार दृश्य और श्राव्य माध्यमों से विद्यार्थियों तक पहुँचें तो इन विषयों में उनका रुझान बढ़ेगा और वे अधिक जिज्ञासु व सक्रिय होंगे। इसी उद्देश्य से भोज विश्वविद्यालय द्वारा एक विनम्र प्रयास के रूप में देश के चुनिंदा विद्वानों के सरल और सारगर्भित व्याख्यान आयोजित कर उनके दृश्य और श्राव्य कैसेट्स तैयार किए जा रहे हैं। हमें प्रसन्नता है कि इस व्याख्यानमाला के जो प्रारंभिक पुष्प प्रस्तुत करने का सुअवसर इसे मिल रहा है, उनमें संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालय वाराणसी के पूर्व कुलपति पद्म भूषण डॉक्टर विद्यानिवास मिश्र द्वारा संस्कृति और संस्कार तथा संस्कृति, सभ्यता और धर्म विषयों का विवेचन है। इसी श्रृंखला में इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ एडवांस्ड स्टडीज शिमला के अध्यक्ष तथा राजस्थान विश्वविद्यालय के पूर्व कुलपति प्रोफेसर गोविंद चंद्र पांडे विज्ञान एवं संस्कृति विषय पर 4 खंडों में व्याख्या प्रस्तुत करेंगे और डॉक्टर कपिला वात्स्यायन भारतीय कला पर व्याख्यान देंगी। इलाहाबाद विश्वविद्यालय एवं संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालय पुरी के पूर्व कुलपति प्रोफेसर त्रिविक्रम पति के व्याख्यानों के विषय भारतीय संस्कृति की अवधारणा तथा भारतीय संस्कृति और शाश्वत मूल्य रहेंगे। इस कार्यक्रम को सतत रूप से जारी रखने के लिए विश्वविद्यालय ने एक बृहद योजना बनाई है, जिसके लिए दूरस्थ शिक्षा परिषद द्वारा विशेष रूप से वित्तीय सहयोग भी दिया जा रहा है। हमें विश्वास है कि देश का प्रबुद्ध वर्ग इस योजना का स्वागत करेगा और इसमें सहयोग देगा। नमस्कार।
We all know the distinction between civilization and culture. Civilization pertains to the external aspects of the achievements and living of human beings, and culture pertains to something deeper, more profound. It is intrinsic and it depends on certain fundamental values, certain norms, certain basic beliefs. These values are called in Sanskrit Purusharthas. Purusha, the word Purusha means man. But Purusha here does not mean just man. Purusha here means a developed, evolved and cultured man. That is a human being who has attained a certain level of excellence Purushartha is therefore etymologically the norm set for the development of a cultivated man, for the evolution of man to the highest stage of self-realization. According to our traditions, which are very ancient, the highest purpose of human life, the summum bonum, is moksha, that is salvation. But salvation does not mean getting rid of life. Salvation is not a negative concept, it is a positive concept. It means the evolution of the personality to such an extent that the baser instincts are sublimated. The lower aspects of life are transcended, and man comes nearer to God. The divine in man becomes manifest. So moksha is truly getting rid of the bondages of life, the various shackles which bind man. Moksha is freedom, freedom from bondages. So it is a state of being in which all boundaries are broken, all limitations are transcended. It is a highly evolved and sublime state of being. It is not only a mental state, it is psychosomatic, mental as well as physical, but intrinsically it is spiritual because it goes beyond the mind and the body. Intrinsically man is a spiritual being. Man is just not a rational animal. As the Greek philosopher once upon a time had said, man was defined as a rational animal, but that is a poor definition of man. Man is the divine in a process of evolution. So our Purusharthas, which are four in category, in number, dharma, artha, kama and moksha, culminate in moksha. Moksha is the ultimate objective, but the other values are nearer home. Kama is the fundamental one, but it comes at the third place. In the categorization, dharma, artha and kama, this is the order. Kama comes at the third stage. But truly, it is an intrinsic value because it is something which is basic for the existence of man. The desire to be, the desire to love, the desire to extend oneself, the desire to transcend one's limitations, that is fundamental. And very aptly Lord Krishna has said to Arjuna, dharma virodho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. O Arjuna, I am that desire which is in consonance with and in harmony with dharma. But what is dharma? Dharma is not a religion. It is a collection of norms, what we call in jurisprudence gun norms, that is the ground norms, the basic norms, the fundamental principles, the ethical principles on the basis of which human life can be sustained and evolved. As Albert Schweitzer, the great Western thinker, very aptly said, without an ethical content, human life becomes a desert. It becomes empty. It becomes vapid. It becomes uncreative. Therefore, for any development, for any cultural evolution, it is fundamentally the ethical values that are needed. Basically, the ethical principles that are needed. The ethical principles must govern our life. That is, the principles which will lead to good life. The principles according to which we distinguish between that which is good intrinsically and that which is only apparently good, only pleasant and so apparently good. Shreyascha, preyascha, manushyametastau samparitya vibinakti dhiraha. These words of the Vedic times remind us of the distinction between that which is really good and that which is apparently good. Something can be very pleasant but may not be genuinely good, whereas something which is not pleasant may be genuinely good. We must know how to distinguish between these two. Dharma is that body of principles according to which we can make this distinction. And therefore, dharma should not be looked upon as professed religion. Our tradition goes beyond prophets. We do not believe in a last prophet or a prophet or a number of prophets whose sayings and whose teachings are final. We have kept man free from the influence even of prophets. There is therefore a kind of freedom in the Indian attitude towards life which makes religion subsidiary to what we call dharma. Religion is largely professed on the basis of the teachings of some prophet, like Christianity, Mohammedanism, Buddhism, and so on. But the Indian attitude, which is manifest in the concept of dharma, transcends religions. It goes beyond, and it conceives of a free, inquiring mind which rises slowly but steadily towards a higher and a yet higher plane of existence. This is very beautifully exemplified in the course of our cultural history. Indian culture has been respected throughout the world for this fundamental contribution, that ethical values are given the highest importance and religion is not considered something which must be binding upon an individual. An Indian may profess no religion and yet may be completely dharmic. Now, artha has been placed in the second stage, but truly kama comes first in terms of the basic nature of man, and artha comes immediately next. Why? Because artha means the equipment, the wherewithal, the requirements, the paraphernalia, the infrastructure on the basis of which kama can be fulfilled. How can we fulfill our desires? When our desires are for the betterment of man, yet we cannot fulfill those desires in thin air. We have to go to certain basic infrastructural requirements and take care that those requirements are fulfilled. That is the concept of artha. And artha therefore is not an intrinsic value, it is an instrumental value. That is to say, it is a value which becomes instrumental in the attainment of moksha, which is the ultimate objective of human life. Kama is the very source of all activities, desire. Without that, human existence is impossible. But desire to be fulfilled requires artha. Artha is thus a fundamental value. But then artha, which is needed for the fulfillment of kama, should not be such as to be in disharmony with dharma. Dharma is the guiding principle. It creates the fundamental basic norms on the basis of which kama and artha should be guided. And with the guidance of dharma, it is possible to attain moksha. This has been very nicely discussed in very many aspects of our classical literature, particularly the Vedic literature and the literature of the Upanishads. The Upanishads, which are also called the Vedanta, give great emphasis on freedom of thought. There is a wonderful story in the Upanishads, the story of Nachiketa. Nachiketa is a young man who has been given as an offering to Yamaraj by his father. Nachiketa objected to old cows being given as sacrifice by his father, and so his father took offense, and then he gave Nachiketa as sacrifice to Yamaraj. Nachiketa goes and waits for Yamaraj. Yamaraj takes some time to come back, and then he meets Nachiketa and asks him as to what he wants. Nachiketa says that he wants 3 boons to be granted to him. The first is that he should be reconciled to his father. The second, that he should become well versed in Yajnagni Vidya. He should know the secrets of the sciences of his times. The third is a more fundamental boon that he wants Yamaraja to grant to him, and that is, he wants to know the secret of human life, the purpose of human life. After all, this life in the mundane world is limited. Everyone who is born is sure to die. Then what is the purpose of human life? Is it only a casual existence to be spent somehow, a duration of time which is to be filled up somehow? Or is it that man has a definite purpose, a calling, a certain objective, a certain ultimate purpose? This question has been raised by Nachiketa. Then Yamaraj says, Nachiketa, why are you bothered about such metaphysical questions? Don't worry about these ultimate problems. They will trouble you unnecessarily. Then he attracts Nachiketa towards the pleasures of this world. He says, Ye ye kama durlabha martya loke sarvan kamang shandata prarthayasva ima rama saratha saturya nahi drisha lambhaniya manushyai. Whatever desires are very difficult to attain, you can get fulfilled through my boon. I can grant you all the pleasures of this world, which are very difficult for human beings to get. O Nachiketa, look at these beautiful girls. Take them with you. Enjoy their company. There will be musical accompaniment, and there will be a ratha also that will carry you. Be comfortable, enjoy life. Why are you bothered about these ultimate questions? But Nachiketa is not satisfied. He has a questioning mind. He has the spirit of free inquiry. He is the evolved person who wants to go beyond the common experiences and probe into the mysteries of life. So he replies beautifully in immortal words, Na vittena tarpaniyo manusyo lapsyamahe vittamadrakshma chetva Jivishyamo yavadi shishyasi tvam varastu me varaniyasya eva. I want that particular vara, that particular boon and nothing else. Man is not satisfied by pleasures of the body. Vitta here means pleasures of the flesh, pleasures of the body. The physical pleasures, the so-called pleasures of the world, they are not going to fulfill my desire, my quest for eternal truth, for the ultimate and the fundamental truth. So let me inform you, O Yamaraj, I will insist on your granting to me the boon by which I will know the secret of life. And let us now, at this stage of civilization, ask ourselves, how many human beings think about the purpose of human life? Most of us live life mechanically. Most of us live life by imitation. We observe those who are our seniors, those who are in high audible positions, and we imitate them. We rarely reflect within ourselves on the purpose of human life. But life is precious. Life is glorious. And each one of us has therefore a basic duty, that is to live this life as fully, as meaningfully as possible. So we ought to ponder as to what the purpose of human life is. Our ancient saints and seers had fixed their attention on moksha, on freedom from bondages. Indeed, no philosophy can be loftier, no thought can be more sublime than the thought that man's ultimate destiny is freedom from bondage. Bondage that is based on selfishness. We are mostly governed by our egos. We don't go beyond our own selfish designs. We generally remain circumscribed by those designs. Our activities are mostly selfish, and we rarely attain anything like a stage of self-realization. But as soon as we look around, think of other human beings, and feel that we are one with them, that their sorrows and sufferings are as much our sorrows and sufferings, when we feel a bond of unity among human beings, we transcend our narrow and individual selves. We go beyond. It is this that has been expressed very beautifully in the Sanskrit verse. Yatha bhavijjivitam atmanah priyam tatha paresham api jivitam priyam nirikshate jivitam atmano yatha tatha paresham api raksha jivitam. Just as our lives are dear to us, so also others' lives are dear to them. Just as we are fond of the preservation of our life, our own individual lives, so also we must take care that we enhance the lives of others, we beautify the lives of others, we enrich the lives of others, we live for others. Live and let live. We must adopt this wider standpoint. That actually will be the basis on which gradually we shall ascend from the level of common human beings to the level of the self-realized soul, one who has a vision of moksha. I think for this lecture the Purushartha concept will give you sufficient food for thought, and you will think about the purpose of human life in your own ways. There is no definite guideline. You think in your own way. Everyone is free to think, free to meditate. Atma va are, drashtavyah, shrotavyah, mantavyah, nididhyasitavyah. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, these wonderful words come from Yajnavalkya. The great saint Yajnavalkya says, the Atman must be realized, but there are different stages through which it can be realized. The self can be realized through observation, drashtavyah, shrotavyah, by observing, seeing, hearing, and then mantavyah must be meditated upon. We must cogitate, we must think, we must meditate and know what after all the Atman is about. And then finally it is nididhyasitavyah, that means we cannot stop only at the level of introspection, speculation, thinking, meditation, which is of course a higher stage than observation. We have to go beyond. We have to realize what we have meditated upon in our day-to-day life. In other words, we should not only be armchair philosophers, but we should carry the great philosophy of the principle of good life, the great philosophy of self-sacrifice, that is the fundamental principle of good life, to our own lives. We must carry the high principles which we have meditated upon to our day-to-day existence, our day-to-day activities. It is only when we guide our own activities by the high principles of dharma that we will be able to realize ourselves, and that will be the prelude to moksha. In fact, most people think that in this age of science, dharma has no place in human life, because science is our guide, science is our master, science will show us the path. What is the use of those classical ideas of ethics, of dharma? But you will fully appreciate that science tells us only about how phenomena occur and how various happenings take place. Science can never answer the question, why? Why do phenomena occur in this particular manner? This why remains unanswered. It is only through introspection, through intuitive appreciation of human values, that man can answer the question as to why life should be led in a particular way and not why in another manner. Why one particular attitude is superior to another attitude. Why cosmopolitan attitude is better than a parochial attitude. Why universal brotherhood is superior to selfishness. These questions can be answered only through an understanding of values, through an understanding of dharma, and through an understanding of the ultimate objective of human life, that is moksha. So, we should not think that because we have entered the age of science, truly, I accept we are in the age of science, but we should not think that dharma has become irrelevant. Rather, you can see after the explosion of the atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, what a crisis has been created in human faith. Man does not now trust science. Scientists and technologists who can be governed by dangerous military powers can bring about destruction of mankind. So we must be careful. How can mankind progress? How can there be a preservation of human life in the best possible manner? And how can there be a constant progress, constant evolution of man, both mental, moral, that is spiritual? It is possible only through an appreciation of the ultimate values, the Purusharthas, and the appreciation of the great significance of self-realization. Truly it is very interesting that self-realization is possible only when the self is forgotten and the wider self is invited and embraced. When my individual self merges in the self of the whole universe, in the Paramatma, only then I really get self-realization. Man can never get self-realization by being selfish. Only by avoiding selfishness, by transcending selfishness, by going beyond his self, he can attain self-realization.
Bhadur, Bhadur.